Welcome to episode 87 of the Nerd Rundown podcast. Coming up on the big show, Darren and I talk about all the news coming out of the DC universe. Will we be saying in James Gunn we trust? Chris Pratt and Taylor Kitsch are coming back for some more action in the James Reese franchise. Captain Dunsel wraps up the show with a terrific NRDbox question on if we're feeling satisfied as nerds right now. Don't skip ahead. We have a new intro and it happens right now. Ready? Hit it!
Hey nerds, welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Rundown podcast, where we cover the latest in the nerd world of movies, TV, and more. I'm Darren Stemple. With me today is my co-pilot, Eric Hare.
Hello, nerds. Fellow nerds.
Y'all are nerds, and we're all a nerd in our own way, right?
Yes, sir.
You can find us on our social medias, all at the Nerd Rundown. And while you're there, if you're liking what you're hearing, seeing, leave a smash on the like button, on the subscribe button. Really, you use the help. We've gotten a lot of great support over the last couple of years, and we just thank you guys so much for that support. But we need more of it. So
Absolutely.
Help the show out. You can even leave a comment or NRDbox question. We'd love to give you a big shout out. Got another great question from the captain later on in the show. If YouTube's not your thing and you want to listen to us on audio only, don't blame you. I wouldn't want to look at my face either. However, you can find us on all the major podcast services.
Yeah.
Before we get to really some exciting stuff, I wanted to talk about our sponsor. I couldn't think of the word. I was like, what's the word? Here's a word about our sponsor, Combat the Chaos. Hey, nerds, do you support your veterans and first responders? Well, here at the Nerd Rundown, we support our heroes. And not just the heroes that you see behind me that are drawn to wear a cape or throw a shield, but the real heroes who would lay their lives down so that we can talk about whatever kind of nerd we are. At the Nerd Rundown, our new sponsor, Combat the Chaos, is a veteran-owned clothing company. They donate portions of all their profits to veteran and first responder supporting organizations that are focused on mental health and suicide prevention. Veterans are at a 57% higher risk of suicide instead of those who have not served. This shirt is one of the items you can purchase if you follow our link to find them on Instagram at combat.the.chaos, or at their website, combatthechaos.com. And use the code NRD for 15% off. Now, back to the Nerd Rundown. Okay, Eric, so I wanted to talk about that new intro everybody got to see and hear. That's kind of a long time coming. We talked about that after our first Christmas episode about getting a new kind of song for the show and seeing how, it would feel to change it up. And it took us a while to really decide on something. And then we also decided we needed to spice up our intro a little bit. So cool little intro created by an artist that we found on Fiverr who helped us out. That was cool. And then we're like, okay, Jason, got this intro. You're the magic man. Let's see you do your magic.
Yeah.
And he whipped up that a version of our theme song.
Brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant.
And I think I might like it better. I don't know.
I feel like it's like the original song is the classic now.
Yeah.
And this is like the abbreviated version of the Cliff Notes version of it, but it's still got its own style to it. It's still got that, I would say, nostalgia, but it's got that, the core to the original theme music is still there. And then to go along with the animated, the graphic animation, I think is really great. When I put together that, the logo kind of just coming forward and everything, I didn't know anything about editing. I didn't know anything about doing any of that stuff. So it was just
It was great.
I was like I literally was just kind of fumbling around, and I put it together, and I was like, oh, well, that doesn't look terrible, and so that's what we went with for a long time. It's been 80 plus episodes plus the, presents and all that stuff. So,
I think we're over 100 now.
Yeah.
Over 100.
Yeah, for sure. So pretty great. And Jason's just been so instrumental, to the show.
In so many ways.
In so many different ways. Yeah. It just the perspective he brings when he's on the show with us, and then behind the scenes, just the chats that we all have together and stuff is he's a great dude, and we love him dearly, and wish he could have been here tonight, but he's got some other stuff happening. So but yeah, big salute to you, Jason. Great job, my man. Sounds awesome.
Love that. Yeah, I mean, he deserves all the credit, because he's like, well, what do you want for the theme song? I'm like, I don't know, you decide. I mean, I kind of want like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And he's like, then he whips up this incredible theme song. I think we were it's like right before our first recording.
Yeah.
I feel like, or maybe it was a practice. No, I think
might have been
our first recording.
It might have been our first recording, yeah.
Because I remember being in that office and being like, oh, here it is. And we hit play, and we're like,
yeah.
That's it. We were feeling it right off the bat.
Yeah.
And man, he whipped up this. I like your analogy. It's like, you can tell it's an updated version of the like original song, not in the like Whitney Houston, Steve Winwood style, but like more like how much I loved Ghostbusters Afterlife being in the same universe as Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
I guess that's the analogy.
Well, I mean, the first, I want to say the first track is like 40 some seconds long. I think it's like 43 seconds long. And so when we went back to Jason, we were like, hey, love everything about it. Could you cut it in half? It's like, how do I do that? How do I do that? So, but he did. It was like, okay, how do we get it down to like 20 some seconds and maybe even less if possible? And he was like, we could do it, and he did. And yet still keep all the cool elements and the signature glitch, I guess, like that signature glitch pieces there. And to go along with the animation that we got, with the glitch, which
the cool part about this, like, kind of destiny moment is, he's like, all right, I whipped up a smaller version. Can you send me the intro? And so I sent him the intro. He's like, all right. So I just saw what I made and whipped it, had no idea about the intro, and he put it together, and it was like, lining up with everything, and he's like, holy shit, I think I just created exactly what you need.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
It was like just like hitting a home run. Like, he went up and he hit a home run on his first swing. Like, like that's that was awesome.
This is easy.
Seriously,
it's the easy button.
And it sounds good. And I love when we cut to what essentially will be maybe a more simplified logo for us moving forward, where it's just a white background and it's the Nerd Rundown, and the way it builds in a quicker sequence than before, just everything lines up. It's so amazing. I loved it so much. Zach Ariel, I'll put the link to his Fiverr in the description from here on out, because that's going to be our intro. So you can find his really great, he does really great 80s retro stuff for YouTube intros. He can do 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Yeah.
I always felt like, a lot of influence from the 80s. I was like, can you whip me up from the 80s? And then kind of turned into more of a custom order of like to kind of incorporate different kinds of nerdum into the intro. And he's got an intro that's the video game controller. And I was like, okay, pair that with this. And it's just awesome how it all came together, because it sometimes doesn't work out that way.
Yeah, that was really good.
And Jason actually he's composed a new song for the Nerd Rundown Presents that we'll present it to you. At some point here in the near future, we want to also do a new. Now I'm like, that intro is awesome. We got to do a new one for the presents. So we'll get that out at some point. If you have any ideas about what a great intro would be for the presents show, let us know. We'd love to hear your input.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, let's talk some nerd stuff. A lot of crazy nerd stuff in the past week.
It's been a big week. Yep.
And I feel like 90% of it's from DC Studios. Now, this was more of I guess subjectively, this is more subjective than anything, a really good week from DC. And I say subjectively because there's the Snyderverse fans out there who were really mad that, it seems like the Snyderverse is for sure going away, and mostly, which we'll get into. Like James Gunn, Peter Safran, the new co-CEOs of DC Studios, revealed their first, essentially their phase 1, which they're calling Chapter 1 of Gods and Monsters, which is just a really, really great DC reference.
Yep.
So they had their big reveal, and then just about every single day, new anecdotes kept dropping. New things kept coming out about the future of the DCU, and just like today's a little bit of a Superman anecdote.
Yeah.
Here's a little anecdote about Matt Reeves' Batman. So first off, before we get into what the actual slate was, what did you think of James Gunn and his presentation and what he revealed?
I thought it was great. I think through no fault of his own, because clearly he is just kind of coming on board, he was very straightforward with how he assessed the existing DC universe, and it
very transparent.
Yeah, and I thought that was great, because it helps if you have a rational and accurate assessment of where you are on the map initially, because then you can get someplace else, pretty efficiently. So for him to come on and be like, what, it's been at best, I think, inconsistent across the board. Some of the stuff that we have is really, really great, the animation stuff, and the other stuff, some of it maybe just didn't hit like we expected it to hit, and so I thought that was great. The whole presentation was really good. I think him kind of going in and having like the chronological order of the way we have stuff kind of planned going forward. This is what you can expect to see over the next 5 years and stuff. And I thought that was great. I really did. He answered some pretty good questions right out of the chute. I think everybody's question, the biggest question on most people's mind, I think, has to be Superman. Like what is happening with Superman? And he came out of the gate pretty much, right away. He talked about some other projects that are ahead of it, but he said, look, I'm in the process of writing it right now, and this is what's going to kick things off for them. And I think that's how it should be. I really do. So, what about you? What'd you think?
I thought it was really great to see that. I loved your point about transparency. He was very open about what he inherited, what he thinks of it, what went down, some of that, stuff. And again, that a lot of it didn't all drop at once. It kind of dropped throughout the week, but
yeah,
I'm really excited to see some of these. I'm really excited for the Lanterns TV show.
Yes.
I'm really excited for The Brave and the Bold, which is a Batman.
Yes.
Really great Batman run. I'm not the biggest fan of Damian Wayne. Is Damian?
Damian Wayne. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Damian Wayans, which is his son.
Yes. Not to be mistaken with Damon Wayans. Just no relation.
Just slightly off. But completely different.
Right.
Very, very much the same, but also.
But we do love Damon. Not to say anything bad, Damon Wayans is up there as like one of my favorite people in the world. So
he's 90s Damon Wayans.
Yeah,
amazing. What was I saying? So Damian Wayans, his son, which I think he's like the third or fourth Robin in the line. I mean,
yeah, because I think you have
Dick
Grayson, and then you have
Red Hood, which is Todd,
Jason Todd.
Right? Jason Todd.
Yep.
And then Red Hood, and then what's Red Hood's name?
I can't remember.
I can't remember either. Either way, it's his son. That's a new take on Batman. Yep. It's cool, like a father-son tale of Batman. We haven't seen in live action.
However, go ahead. Finish your thoughts.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'm happy to hear about the Elseworld stuff with Matt Reeves' Batman and Joker Folie à Deux, which I could not care less about.
Right.
But the Batman 2, glad they're continuing that.
Correct. Which is something that I had predicted.
A point about. Yeah.
Made a point about.
I was just going to finish off by saying there wasn't anything I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest positive I can give.
Yeah. I think what will be the most interesting to me is this. In defense parlance, you have what they call the nuclear triad, which is the ground-based missiles. You have the submarine-launched missiles, and then you have bombers, and those are the three legs of the triad. So that in the event that somebody were to do something, you at least have one or two legs still available to beat the hell out of the other guy with. So I feel like this triad that they're putting together here, which is movies, TVs, and something that the MCU they're starting to do, but has not been able to do yet, is gaming. Is to bring all three of those components together. I think that's really aggressive, and I like it. I like it. You're gonna have to take some risks, and I'm not upset about it. I think the cool thing about this is hey, they're saying that when we cast this actor in this role, when you watch the animated version, that's going to be their voice also. And then in the games you're going to expect to hear their voice for the games as well. And which is cool because, actors are always, I know we all think that they're super rich, but honestly, those dudes are like guns for hire. They're all they get hired for 3 months and then they're out of a job and they got to hustle and do the best they can to get another job. So
Chris Pratt, it
cuts both ways Garfield. For them. Yeah, because they're okay, well, I'm if you get into this MCU stuff, it's okay, well, you got a job for probably 10 years, so maybe you are going to get typecast, or maybe you are going to have, conflicts with doing other projects, but you got a job, man, and it's going to be a 10-year job and all that. So I do like that. I do.
Also, to add on to that, because you were talking about same voice across, same writers,
right,
across each platform. They're going to be. That's how it's really going to differ. Is Marvel goes for a different writer for each project, or at least different franchise.
Yeah,
and they're going to have the people in this writers' room. It's an incredible cast of writers already. They have some real talent, and they're not even including James Gunn, who's doing a lot of the writing.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. That's a connective thread that that Marvel cannot do now.
Well, and I love the gods and that they're kicking off with the monsters. I think that's really, really cool because it's okay, they're starting off with that creature commandos, which is going to be werewolves and vampires and all kinds of stuff, and I'm like, okay, cool. That's going to be fun. I mean, that's one of the fun things about DC. It's one of the fun things about, the MCU, Marvel is they've brought some of that stuff in with the Werewolf by Night, and stuff. But but I think it's great that they're bringing that in. The Waller series is going to be interesting, like, kind of the background. I'm not a big Waller fan, but especially since apparently she's a.
Feels weird they're hanging on to it.
Yeah, I don't. It seems really odd to me that they are promoting this particular character so much, but okay,
Commando team. James Gunn's already written all 10 episodes.
Yeah.
I don't know if this guy's slept in the last few months.
I know the guy's probably taking Adderall. He's probably on Adderall and mainlining Red Bulls. I imagine is probably.
I mean, how do you write that? The Superman stuff, working on Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yeah.
I mean, and making all these decisions about it was just incredible. Yeah. He said, "Yeah, I've already written all 10 episodes." I'm like, "You did what?"
Yeah.
Oh.
And I love, honestly, I love that they're leaving Matt Reeves' Batman alone. I really do. Yep. I think
huge win.
I loved the first one. I think that they're going to give him probably 2. I mean, James didn't say he's getting 3 films, but
right.
I would imagine that he probably gets 3 films.
If the next one's as successful, of course,
I think he'll get 3. But then they will, that's the cutoff point for him, and be like, hey, you need to. It's time to move on. So
right.
So I think I do like that. I'm excited about the Batman stuff. There's just a lot of really cool stuff. I agree with you. The Lanterns, really, 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 really excited for that one. That one looks super, super cool. So
yes.
So I think that's gonna be probably the behind Superman and the Batman stuff. That's probably up there for me as one of the most anticipated pieces of the puzzle, kind of moving forward.
And I've been excited for that for a few years.
Yeah. Yeah, because you know what? I think we talked about that like on one of our first podcasts that we had.
I remember being in your basement and talking about it.
And we were talking about it. Yeah, exactly. I want to say that was like our first podcast, or that sounded weird, in your basement, and we were talking about that.
Sounded totally fine to me.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it is normal, because I forgot that we did do like we did the first few we did was like in my basement, and then down at your dad's office or whatever. Yeah, like every other episode was like, and it was
figuring things out.
Yeah. Gosh, nostalgia, man.
The writer's room includes names Drew Goddard, who wrote The Martian, but he's also got a huge background in comic writing, and he at one time was attached to very, very heavily attached to a Daredevil TV show. Which actually I think he may have been the showrunner of season 1. I'll look that up in a second. So Drew Goddard, Jeremy Slater, who was a writer on Moon Knight, Christina Hobson, she wrote The Flash, which is getting all kinds of rave reviews, so much so that it sounds like Ezra Miller's job is safe.
Yeah.
Crystal Henry.
They are putting out a bunch of stuff right now for him. He was executive producer on Daredevil. Mm-hmm.
On the TV show?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, EP, but man, I thought he was also a showrunner, but maybe he was a showrunner at first. But that's what I think it was. He was showrunner at first. Crystal Henry, who was the showrunner on Watchmen, which very highly acclaimed show. I have not watched it, but people who have watched it love it. And Tom King, who's a big time Batman comic writer. So those are the names that are in this writer's room that are writing everything, and that doesn't even include Ta-Nehisi Coates, who's writing a Superman movie with J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
Really, really, really. I think this is just maybe the biggest thing is the writer's room across. They're writing all the movies and all the games and all the shows. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I think that's just. I'm very excited by that. The actors across all mediums is great, but having the connective tissue of the writers across all the projects. Because you look at when Marvel did that, they had Marcus and McFeely, the writers for Captain America.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, and then Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah.
And essentially that was more, I guess Endgame was more from Cap's perspective and not so much Infinity War, but
yeah,
Infinity War was Tony's movie and Endgame was Cap's movie.
Yeah.
But either way, you had a connective writer through the
whole thing.
franchise.
Yeah.
So what else did he reveal? Here's the slate. Let me pull it up here. So we have Creature Commandos, which is I don't know much about it, but you can tell that it's part of the monsters. Is that the Weasel or what's his name from Suicide Squad?
He is supposed to be in it. Yes.
It is okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
They're like, we got to get him in more stuff.
Although that character is really despicable. Like he's like ate like a bunch of children, didn't he?
Children.
Like he's like killing kids and stuff, which I'm like, all right, man.
Yeah. Here's another big thing, big change is so the Flash is supposed to reset the universe, kind of like we predicted.
Right.
And then but here's the difference is this with this new Superman is he's going to be coming into a world where they already have superheroes. So Batman is going to be a few years older than Superman. They're not going to be around the same age, which I think that's going to be interesting. Of course, again, Batman's more of he's a dad now. So he's going to be a little bit older, but I thought that was very interesting about how he's going to he said he's going to be a reporter at the Daily Planet. Yep. Daily Planet. And he'll be a younger Superman. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm actually very excited. I love Superman movies. I was entertained by Superman Returns. So,
well, nobody's perfect. So.
That airplane scene in Superman Returns was badass.
The movie was really bad.
The second half was terrible, but the first half I thought was pretty good.
Yeah.
The Superman child was weird. Booster Gold, which this guy's got his own definite audience, and if James Gunn is behind the writing on this one, I can see it being an absolute blast because he's a normal guy who uses future technology.
Yeah,
be a superhero in today's world. I don't
he's
know.
Like a loser too.
Yeah, he's like a total loser.
It reminds me. It reminds me. Yeah. It reminds me of Idiocracy in reverse. Like.
Totally.
Like it's just like he's just an average dude, that makes it into the future, and everybody's an idiot. So he seems like the smartest guy, but this is going to be the other way around. It's like he's from the future, and so a
lot of people are casting Ryan Gosling as Booster. So
you know what I like it.
Yeah, okay.
I like it.
Ryan Gosling.
That's all
you gotta say.
He's got a great sense of humor. He's another one of those dudes that I want to hate because he's so damn good looking, but you're like, man. God, he's funny.
He's so
got good
funny.
Delivery. Really good delivery.
Oh, he is so funny.
Yeah.
I love Crazy Stupid Love.
Yes.
That is. If I had to pick like a chick flick to watch over and over again, I think I'd pick that one.
Yeah.
The Authority, which is DC's. Here's the short synopsis we have. DC's Wildstorm characters, who I don't know who that is. It makes me feel like this is like kind of Eternals, but maybe not. DC's Wildstorm characters will join the DCU as members of the Authority, take matters into their own hands to do what they believe is right. I don't know. Maybe that's more Thunderboltsy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Brave and the Bold. And Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
No casting. By the way, no casting has been done on this. Paradise Lost, which is takes place on Themyscira, where Wonder Woman grew up. It's supposed to be pretty amazing. Paradise Lost is always such a cool name for stuff. But finally, Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
And I could not be more excited for Swamp Thing. If I had to pick something that'd be the most excited for out of this whole thing, it would be Swamp Thing. And mainly 99% because I had a Swamp Thing action figure growing up that I just loved to pummel because he was kind of a scary guy. So I always made my heroes just beat the crap out of him. But I would love to see a modern day Swamp Thing. And
like
it sounds like,
like not a tongue in cheek, but like a legit
right.
Swamp Thing.
Yeah. And who do they have already tapped to direct?
Love this.
James Mangold.
I love this. And he's apparently like into the character, like really loves the character.
Yeah, he really loves
and
it.
I don't mean, I don't.
He's like, you're doing Swamp Thing? Let me direct it.
Right. Yeah. Like, did you ever see the 80s Swamp Things that they did?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Again.
I mean, I've seen like clips, but.
Okay. How do I say
that
this?
Doesn't count.
It is a guilty. It's been a long time since I've seen them, but even when I was younger, like I loved them, and they were super campy, and they were like.
Was it based off the DC character?
I don't know. I think so, but it was.
Yeah. I remember this. I remember there being a show, and I've seen clips here and there, but
yeah,
I couldn't tell you one thing about the show.
Yeah, I mean, it was a long time ago. So I'd have to go back. Yeah, but if I remember right, I want to say it was kind of a skin flick. If you.
Oh. Really?
If I remember it right, like it was like this girl. Yeah.
I actually do feel like I remember hearing something about there being openness.
Yes. Yeah. It was
no
kinda,
clothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do. Yeah. Was it a movie or was it a TV
It was
show?
a movie. Yeah, it was a movie.
It was movies. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, either way, I'm excited to see a modern day Swamp Thing. I think that would be so cool, and that could also seriously lead to one of the few things, just more Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
In the comics, he's very close with John Constantine. We just heard that Keanu Reeves is getting back into the Constantine role.
Mm-hmm.
You could see like a buddy cop. That sounds weird. A buddy cop monster movie, I guess. That would be breaking the genre. And then also Justice League Dark, which almost happened with Guillermo del Toro. Guillermo del Toro. About 10 years ago, right after the Avengers blew up and everybody started trying to figure out what they could do. Yeah. Anyway, that would be really cool. Justice League Dark has it would be like if Doctor Strange kind of had his own version of the Avengers, and it was like dealing with the monsters of the Marvel universe. That would be sweet.
Yeah.
What was next? Where was I?
Well, the last thing on the list. Oh, okay.
Well, how the Flash resets the DCU.
Yeah.
Mostly. So here's the thing. Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa, Ezra Miller, and Zachary Levi all have stuff coming out. Or I guess not Gal Gadot, but Jason Momoa, Ezra Miller, and Zachary Levi all have movies coming out this year.
Right.
He did say a little bit too much, I feel like, in the presentation that it's like, and this will lead into the DC. He's like, so the Flash will reset it, and then Aquaman will lead right into the DC. It's like, how? We don't really get it. And of course, they don't want to give anything away for the Flash. And I'm surprised we haven't gotten a trailer for that since that's coming in June.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. And lastly was the animated universe. They're still trying to figure out, how that's all going to get set up.
Right.
If other things are going to play into it. But I don't know.
What
do you think about these four staying around?
I think the Paradise Lost is interesting to me.
Okay.
For Gal, like I feel like that's hopefully they'll be able to work her in there hopefully they'll be able to keep her, work her in there somehow. Either.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how, but but the Paradise Lost, I'm not sure how they'll do that, but I do like that. Momoa, I don't know, man. And Aquaman, I just don't care. I really
I know, I really don't.
The Zachary Levi and the
too.
Shazam world, like, I haven't. I probably will go see Shazam. I'm not sure if I'll go see it in the theater, but I'll definitely see it when it comes out. When it comes out later, I'll definitely watch it. I really like the first one, and I probably should go watch the second one in the theater just to support it. I really should. I did buy my ticket for Quantum Mania, so I do have a seat for Quantum Mania already. So, but
slacking, man.
Yeah. So, a solo viewing, of course, a 10:00 show on a Thursday night or something. So,
yeah.
But I may do a Zachary Levi viewing as well. Just depends on what the schedule kind of looks like. But I really enjoyed the first Shazam. So far, what I've seen in the trailer, I really like what they're doing with the second Shazam. So, and I don't know, I just don't know what's happening with. I just hope they can figure it out with The Rock. I really, really, really hope they can figure out the Dwayne Johnson situation, and because the dude can hold a grudge. I'll just say that. So I have a feeling, like if James Gunn is like, hey man, that was different management. Now you're dealing with new management, and maybe we can do something a little bit later on down the road. So to work Shazam in with The Rock, or something, or I don't know. I hope they figure that out.
That's got to be repaired big time, I think.
Yep.
We'll see.
I think you're leaving. The Rock has a really great appeal, and he's loved by a lot of different people. And I have a feeling that, if you can let him, if you had him as being kind of the straight guy to Zachary Levi's silly, kid, the two of them off of each other, that's going to be pretty funny. It's going to be pretty funny to watch, because he played this straight dude in the Baywatch movie to Zac Efron's, kind of funny guy stuff. Yeah. So it worked, it worked really well. And so I'm hoping that maybe they can figure that out, but I don't know. I think we're a long ways off from that one. So
I do think that Dwayne Johnson is also wearing on people. But we'll see.
Yeah, it could be.
See how that
he may
goes.
Be feeling he's a little too big for his britches,
Yeah, maybe.
But he's huge, so
you know what though? It feels good to know there's a plan. And that's something we've talked about
absolutely
endlessly in the last freaking 6 months, however long the saga's been going.
Yeah, right.
And so it feels like, okay, and we've been saying that, like, show us your plan, or at least give us a hint. And now they have, and I feel so much better.
Feel better.
They still have, we'll see.
They still got to prove stuff to us.
They still have to execute.
This is step one.
Step one, absolutely. And James Gunn seems like,
get a box.
They made the right choice with him.
Yeah. So they're working on step 2, which is cut a hole in the box.
Next on the rundown, so the first category was all DC. This is a category called renewed or renewed,
regurgitated. I don't know, this first one feels like
regurgitated. That should be so first up, Bad Boys 4 with Will Smith and Martin Short. Eric, renewed or renewed?
Renewed. Here's the thing.
It's not like your stomach.
I love both these dudes. Like, I absolutely love both these dudes. I love Martin Lawrence. I still think the dude is funny as all get out, even though it's the same shtick.
Yeah.
And Will Smith, he's just amazing. Like, I just think the guy is so talented, so immensely talented, and just a genuinely, like, I just think he's a genuinely wonderful, wonderful person. So, and I know that may not be the most popular opinion, but whatever, I don't care. It's my opinion. And I love Will Smith. I'll just say that. So, I didn't see Bad Boys for Life. Did you see Bad Boys for Life?
I have not finished Bad Boys for Life.
Okay. Yeah.
If that tells you anything.
I don't know. Like, if the script is good and the stuff looks good, then sure, bring it back together. In all honesty, I know we've differ in opinion in this realm. Lethal Weapon 1 was phenomenal. Lethal Weapon 2 might be better than the original Lethal Weapon.
I think it is.
Lethal Weapon 3 is a letdown for me. Like, I did not like that movie at all. And then although I did like a character that Rene Russo, when they introduced her character, I did like that.
I need to watch it again. I did admit that last time, and I'm admitting it now. I need to watch it because I'm definitely running off.
But number 4 was terrific. It really was terrific, and it wrapped everything up nicely. So, you know what? If this is like their final ride, if that's how they're going to do it, I don't know the third one. I don't know what. It's
a really good analogy.
The first 2 were really good. The first was phenomenal. The second was
all time
was pretty good.
Great.
It was pretty great. Yeah. But the first one was way better. It wasn't.
Oh, it's in the pantheon of.
Yeah. So amazing. The third one, I mean, if it's a letdown, it's been 30 years, 20 years, something like that. So it's been a long time. So I get it. So hopefully they can pick up the pieces and make this one and bang this out. But I'll watch it. At some point I'll watch it. I'm sure. So, but again, trailer. Got to see a story. Got to see a trailer, and we'll see how it goes.
So Will Smith announced this on social media. So he was in the car. He's like, "We're doing it, blah blah blah. We're doing this. And then he gets to Martin Short's.
Martin Lawrence.
Martin Lawrence. I was like, that didn't feel right. Martin Lawrence, excuse me, who honestly he's the MVP of the movies.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Passenger 56.
Damn the woosah. I honestly, can't quote Bad Boys.
Yeah,
100%. Like the first movie, and nothing gets me like going more in the beginning of a movie than that theme song playing over the.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh man. I just love that so much. So I did not finish three, but it's not something that I'm opposed to going back to. So I will finish it at some point, and I just, no spoilers, but they definitely favor one person in the movie, and it doesn't feel good. And you know what? You could tell Michael Bay has a certain magic with this universe that wasn't there.
Yeah.
And
I remember
I felt like Will Smith playing a cop.
I had this sound system, this home theater, like my first gen house home theater system. And it was made by a local shop up in Fort Collins. And I had an okay receiver attached to it. Like, it was borderline enough power for it, but I remember the one scene where they go into they're going to this club, and it's like this pansies, and there is this bass note that hits, and it just goes just like that. And the subwoofer that I had a passive and an active, and it was fused. It had a fuse in it. And I must have gone through a half a dozen fuses playing that particular scene at an unreasonable volume and that receiver just could not power it cleanly to the speaker, and the fuse would just go pop, and I'm like, oh man. So, yeah,
dude, that's awesome. I love that story.
So great.
I love any story that kind of starts off with like, it is borderline.
Yeah, right.
All right, so yeah, I say renewed. So next on in this one is Chris Pratt's The Terminalist renewed for season 2.
Yes.
So, that's my answer.
Oh man,
I am
loaded with
very
great
excited.
news. Yeah,
very very excited. Tell me about I can tell you're renewed.
Renewed.
So.
Yeah.
Do we have a synopsis? Like is there a book?
Well, there is
a
book. There's a second. I have not read it yet, but there is a second. There's actually several books in the series. I think there's like 4 or 5 books in the series, and so it'll be the second one in the series called True Believer, and it continues the story of James Reese. After the events of the terminal list that he had. And Chris Pratt, I guess, has full rights to make these things in Amazon. Between the two of them, Paramount and Amazon have the rights to this thing. So I cannot wait for this. Cannot wait. I loved the first season. The first season followed the book really, really well. I just feel like 10 episodes is a really great way to do a novel. It really, especially at a high budget 10 episode deal, I just think it does. It gives you enough time to really flesh out the characters and tell the story in the way that I think the authors really, really, want a story told. So
and at a pace that still feels like keeps you engaged.
Yeah, absolutely.
It never slows down.
Absolutely. Yep. The other,
and then there's,
I was going to say the other exciting part to this, is we're going to get to see more Taylor Kitsch's Ben Edwards character. And that one's going to be, which if you watch the series, it's going to be, you're like scratching your head going, what? But this is going to be a rewind to how Ben Edwards, the character of Ben Edwards, left the teams, the SEAL teams, to go work for the Central Intelligence Agency as an operative there. So this will be kind of a rewind in time several years back, after he, I'm sure he did some tours in Afghanistan and Iraq, and then gets out and goes work for the CIA, which I'm sure probably sends him right back into those particular fields of theaters of operation, Iraq and Afghanistan. So
it's more Taylor Kitsch being a badass.
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm like, yes, please.
Yes, please.
So
that was an awesome announcement, and I know Banana
totally
is
unexpected.
Very excited about the Taylor Kitsch thing.
Yeah, totally unexpected. I kind of had a feeling with how Amazon was talking about how well received the terminal list was, and how well it did. I kind of had a feeling in the way Jack Carr was talking on Twitter and stuff, it kind of felt like, hey, we're going to get a second season of this. And I know Chris Pratt is down for it. The dude is the hardest working guy out there. Like I saw a thing the other day of him working in the gym, and it's like, gee whiz, man, he gives me hope that maybe I can get off my fat butt, and stop looking like Andy Dwyer and look like him. So
totally.
But
totally.
So
anyhow, the right amount of like 6-7 hours working out a day.
You can
do it.
I hire myself I'm sure a chef to cook for me, and
personal chef,
and then have a Navy SEAL train you in the gym. But that
what are we doing here?
The guy that I really am excited that I love, Antoine Fuqua. I absolutely love the guy. I mean, he is behind the scenes on some really, really terrific action stuff. I really enjoyed his remake of the Magnificent, was it the Magnificent Seven or something like that? I think he redid. I thought that was great.
I love
the Equalizer movies. What's that?
Oh, the Equalizer. I love the Equalizer. Yeah. Probably my favorite of his is King Arthur.
So I don't think I saw that one. I'm not a big King Arthur
with Clive Owen.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that particular story plot line, but
and you probably would like this because it is like the most grounded take of Arthur of all time.
Yeah,
plus you get to see Keira Knightley run around half naked.
Like Training Day,
the movie.
Training Day is still
amazing.
Up there as one of the great. I mean, just Denzel
at the top. Yeah. He won for he won his Oscar for Training Day. That wasn't Fuqua, was it?
It was.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was going to say, because he was better in Man on Fire, and he should have won for Man on Fire. So I feel like he wasn't as good in Training Day as he was on Man on Fire. No,
Denzel, you
makeup. Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, Fuqua never misses. And watch the director's cut. If you can get a hold of the director's cut of Arthur.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's amazing, all the people in that movie.
Yeah.
So he has Mads Mikkelsen, who his character is awesome in that movie.
Yeah.
Ray Stevenson, Jack Nicholson's right-hand man in The Departed, Ian Grufford, who plays Mr. Fantastic in the terrible Fantastic Four movies, but he's Lancelot in this. He's
okay.
Awesome. The guy who if you remember the Hannibal TV show that Mads Mikkelsen was Hannibal on, the guy who was the detective, he's in this movie as well. I mean, the whole thing is amazing. I loved that movie.
Yeah.
And it's the most grounded Arthur take. Okay, next one. This one. Sir Ridley Scott's Gladiator 2 is announced with a Thanksgiving release in 2024. Eric, no Russell Crowe.
Yeah. He
renewed?
Spoiler alert.
Or renewed?
Spoiler alert on that one. I love Ridley Scott. I don't know why we're going back to the well on this one. I think.
I mean, what?
This is a renewed for me. Yeah,
definitely a question mark on that. Like renewed, really?
I guess the plot line is that it's the young, if you remember,
his kid,
the young kid that was in there, it was the nephew of Lucius, of the emperor, Commodus. He was in love.
Kid.
He was in love with the gladiator. Like he came down and visited him, and he has that great line where he says, he tells me that according to him, you're Hector reborn, and just a terrific. Joaquin Phoenix, so good in that. I just don't know how you're going to be better than that first one, and
and when Ridley's not made a lot of, he hasn't hit lately.
It's been a lot of miss. It's been a lot of miss with him. I feel like we might be falling into the Bruce Willis, you could say no to a project, right? Like,
they're like, hey, really, you want to do Gladiator 2?
Yeah, sure.
Sure, why not? Yeah. Well, we'll see. Yeah. Interesting to go back to that world. Next on the rundown, we have an announcement out of the Star Wars camp that Star Wars Jedi Survivor has been pushed back 6 weeks. They made a big announcement. It was made due to they need to polish the game, basically. So, okay.
Which sounds
honestly like, what is 6 weeks?
6 weeks sounds like a bug.
Not much.
I'm gonna say
it does say that they had a couple bugs spring up and they need to fix the bugs.
That's what it sounds like to me. A 6 week delay on that, as long as it holds, it sounds like that's enough. That's a bug regression or something that's popped up, and they are working to fix that and make sure that there's no other bugs that come up with that fix. And so they need to get it cleaned up, pushed out to their testers, and have them run through it and see if there's anything new that kind of pops up and all that. Because at this point in the game, no pun intended, at this stage of the game, it's pretty much ready to ship. So if you're having to delay it by 6 weeks, that's an odd number of stuff for there to be like a major problem. It sounds like it's a minor, but it's big enough. It sounds to me like it's a minor problem, but it's big enough for them to at least want it to go out. Because I think worst case scenario is that it ends up like that release a couple of years ago for that was it something 77, the Cyberpunk. Yeah, it just man, the hype around that one was huge. Big time hype. And then once it hit,
had Keanu Reeves,
nobody could play it. It had a bunch of bugs, and it really killed the momentum for that game. Really killed the momentum. So I think they're trying to make sure that they got everything on here, which is fine with me. I think Jack, my I guess I got to buy a PlayStation 5 for this one, right? They're not going to do a Switch version of it, so
yeah, I don't know.
Because he's like,
I think it's on all consoles.
I only see PlayStation 5, Xbox, and Windows PC, but
oh, it's not going to be on PS4.
It doesn't look like it, at least not initially. So, which kind of sucks because I only have a PS4. So
yeah, PS5 is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, what's 6 weeks? You know, like
that's what I say. 6 weeks is not that much. So,
in fact, it feels like a shorter time frame when you say mid-March to late April. Like that's 6 weeks, but it feels like a shorter time. So
yeah,
give me the game when it's ready.
Yeah,
you know, if it said 6 months, that might be a little bit different. That would be huge cause for concern. 6 weeks is nothing.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the trailer train. We had a few trailers that surprised me. First up was The Covenant, a Guy Ritchie movie starring Jake Gyllenhaal. Who looks great in this trailer about a soldier who had his life saved by an interpreter, and now that interpreter, because he helped an American, is hiding somewhere, and he feels like Jake Gyllenhaal's character feels like he needs to go save him because he owes him his life. Really,
which is not far off from what did happen in the fall of Afghanistan 2 years ago. There were U.S. soldiers who were now civilians who, at their own dime, on their own expense, flew into Afghanistan and smuggled people out. You know.
Yeah, and that'll be like an Argo type style movie down the road, I'm sure.
Yeah. It continues.
Yes or no to this movie?
Well, okay. I liked the trailer. I liked it a lot. So yes, I'm a yes on this one. I'm actually a yes on everything coming up. Spoiler. I'm actually a big yes on all these, but The Covenant especially. I like the story. It's relevant. You know, I think it'll be. It continues my trend of post Guy Ritchie, post Madonna, and pre Madonna. Genius. Totally. Married to Madonna. The time period that he's married to Madonna, she is a succubus, and she pulls out all creativity, and it's terrible. So love Guy Ritchie before he married Madonna, and after Madonna. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Listen, I love the line, like, hey, you're here to
translate.
It's like, no, I'm here to interpret.
Right.
With my firsthand experience of having an interpreter, in fact, you know, I was with the interpreter quite a bit because he was always in the front vehicle with us on patrol. So I got to know our interpreter so well, and they held that job in like the highest regard. And it really made you feel comfortable, obviously.
Yeah.
You know? But I love that line because that really embodies how they felt about their job.
Yeah.
And it's really, really like touched my heart on that one.
Yeah.
Next trailer, I was excited. I'm very excited to hear what you thought because you probably got to see a little bit of big George Foreman.
I never saw him fight.
I never saw him in his like early heavyweight days.
Yeah.
Obviously, but you know, and then you grow up with George Foreman as this name, and it's hard to not even say George Foreman Grill out, you know, in one.
Hey, you know what? I've owned two of them. Okay. So
yeah, and I've had one.
Yeah.
And the Michael Scott George Foreman Grill episode is just one of the all-time classics. Anyway, this trailer
clicked on the trailer, so you may hear a little bit of the audio on that one, but yeah,
I haven't heard it yet. But I will say, you know, just knowing the history of boxing and how much he meant to the sport, but seeing now the backstory of George Foreman, I am freaking pumped to watch this. I love boxing movies.
Yes,
I think boxing translates well to screen. So
I love boxing.
That helps.
Period.
Yeah, I love boxing. Yeah. I miss the old days of boxing.
I miss boxing. I just miss it. Period.
Yeah, and I get UFC's cool and all, but I don't know. Back in the day when it was big time fights, I'll never forget that the hype around, Tyson
fights,
Roy
Jones
Holyfield.
Jr. Yeah, I mean,
Roy Jones Jr.
Oscar De La Hoya. Just Oscar great. Not to say that there aren't great fighters like Canelo he's a tremendous fighter. I find Mayweather boring.
Yeah,
I find him to be a boring fighter. Like, and that's how he likes it. He just shows you his shoulder and lets you beat his shoulder up.
He's ice cold.
Yep, he is. He is. He's great. But I tell you, it's really funny. The whole thing about the George Foreman grill is George was making so much money off of the rights for that the company bought him out of the contract because he was making so much money off that George Foreman grill. And I was like, man, that's the best. But I think the really neat thing about I only knew George after his professional fighting career. Like I never saw. I don't think I ever saw him. I don't think I ever saw him fight except maybe when he tried to come back like later in his career, but he just,
I think that's when I saw him too.
Yeah. I mean, he
fought the guy from Rocky 5. Tommy.
Gosh, I don't know. I can't remember. I mean, I know he fought in like the 80s, the late 80s and early 90s and stuff, but that's
when I remember.
Yeah. But it just wasn't,
that was his comeback.
Yeah. It wasn't really, I mean, but by then he was just like this guy that you couldn't, like, his personality was so great, such a great personality.
So huge.
And seeing this trailer, I was not aware of his previous, we'll just say version 1 of George Foreman, like apparently he was a very arrogant and it seemed like a not very nice person, and which I just so different. Like, what would change a person like that? So I'm actually really excited to see his experience and watch him. I am really looking forward to this. I'm usually hit or miss on the biopics. Usually I'm a pretty hit or miss on biopic stuff, but I'm actually looking forward to seeing this one.
So here's one for the grammar crowd. It's apparently become kind of a big story online that it's actually pronounced biopic.
Oh, all right.
And I've been saying biopic for maybe my whole life.
Yeah.
But this week I saw it on Twitter, like this whole huge trending thread about how it's pronounced biopic. And I'm like, I just hate the word bio. Like now in like the work setting, when they're like, we need a bio break, it just makes me think they're going to take a dump. That's all.
Yep.
So last on the trailer train is The Consultant, an Amazon Prime TV show starring Christoph Waltz. And, some people are definitely going to make the Elon Musk taking over Twitter comparisons here, but I don't see that.
This was filmed way before that. And
it was filmed way before that, but you just know people will make that comparison.
Yeah.
Either way.
Mm-hmm.
I love Christoph Waltz in anything. That guy is amazing.
He is terrific.
You get to see him in a layered role here.
Yes.
Cannot wait to see after Severance. Give me all the crazy office drama stuff.
Yeah,
I'm into it.
Yeah. I liked the trailer for it. I thought it was cool. It is definitely off the wall, and like you said, when it comes to like office stuff, it's as a person who has spent many years of my life in an office, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
you do see all different types of personalities when it comes to like leadership, and I've had consultants come in as well, and they are fairly interesting people sometimes and all that. So I thought that was really kind of crazy. He has another movie I watched the trailer for the other day called The Portable Door, which looks really interesting also. So
Sam Neill.
Yeah, Sam Neill. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh, interesting. But as far as this is concerned, I'll have to wait for Meg to watch it and then let me know whether or not I need to see it. So
I'll watch it and then I'll be like, it's life-changing, and I just will push you guys to try to watch it.
I still need to watch Severance. I still owe her a Severance and all that.
We're watching that right now with Banana, and she's like, what are we watching?
Yeah.
And I'm like, just wait. It's so worth it. It's just one of the best setups of all time. Very, very good show. All right. That's it for the rundown. Very, very DC dominated rundown. However, some other good stuff in there. Very excited for more Taylor Kitsch and Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
Some surprise trailers in there. So NRDbox time from the Captain Dunsel. He actually commented on our season finale last year, our season 2 finale that we did before the Christmas episode.
Yeah.
And in that episode, we did some, I think, kind of perspective setting, and I was talking about how we're eating good or eating well as nerds right now. And I think I had that saying for a while, since it just feels like, we have a rundown every week with new news items. Sometimes there's follow-up stories, but always at least a few nerd stuff that's come out every week. And I've had that thought in my head for a while that we're eating good as nerds. It's subjective, of course, but he commented, and I was like, I'm turning this into a NRDbox question. He said, are we eating well, or are we eating fast food? Are we feeling satisfied, or are we just feeling like we just got something? ? Take all the franchises: Marvel, Star Wars, DC, The Boys, Jack Ryan, Walking Dead, Gordon Ramsay, which that was so random. On the Gordon Ramsay. I'm like, yeah, Marvel, Star, DC, yep, Boys, Jack Ryan, yep, Walking Dead, okay. Gordon Ramsay. Which ones are we eating well, or which ones are just filler anymore? So it was really that last piece where he said, which ones are we eating well, and which ones are we are just filler? So interesting question here from the captain, in the sense of, again, very subjective. Of course, we're all a nerd in our own way. We like different stuff. I loved episode 3 of The Last of Us. You guys didn't. I mean, maybe you didn't hate it, but you didn't love it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I didn't hate it. I just didn't feel like it moved the story. It took a huge detour. Really, it could have been a 30-minute episode, and that would have moved the story on. So, yeah.
We can talk about The Last of Us. Stay tuned for the nerd rundown recaps. Okay, so I think we're eating well as nerds when it comes to quantity. And quantity isn't always the best.
Right.
We want quality.
Right.
It does worry me that we are getting, like, Phase 4 was a massive failure for Marvel.
Yep.
I mean, especially on the box office.
Yep.
Or not box office. Yeah, well, the movies. The TV shows, there's definitely some
hit or miss
debate about, hit or miss is a good way of putting it.
Yep.
There wasn't a single, Shang-Chi and Spider-Man were huge successes.
Yeah.
Everything else was a disappointment.
Yeah.
Black Widow.
Except for Doctor Strange. That was the best picture of the year. So, people's choice.
We are eating well.
Best. Captain, I can't believe you would question that, or even.
Right?
Yeah.
Star Wars, hit or miss. Boba Fett, definitely a miss. What was after? Obi-Wan, subjective.
Yeah. I think we're all neutral. I think we've decided that we're all with Obi-Wan. We were kind of neutral. Like, we didn't dislike it. We didn't.
I was in the camp of liking it, and I still am.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I'm neutral. Like, I didn't.
It was no Andor.
I didn't dislike it, but I didn't. There were a lot of it. I was like,
It was no Andor, that's for sure, and that's
Andor was terrific, and the other show where Pedro Pascal takes a young child and shepherds them through the darkness.
Yeah, and we didn't get that in 2022, except for in episode 5 of of Boba Fett, which was a great episode.
Yeah.
Jack Ryan season 3. Have you finished it?
Oh yes.
Yeah, very good.
Yep.
Maybe not the best season. I don't know. It felt like 3, 4, 5 years in between season 2 and 3 that didn't help. Because we're like, who's that? Who's that?
I think we have to bear in mind that this season was filmed. This was one of the first productions that came right after the COVID power down. You know, like it was filmed. It was one of the first ones. So I think they had to really. They had to kind of make it up as they go along, and I think you could kind of tell on that one that it was not as. There was a lot of outside shots, you know, like there's a lot of outside.
It just felt like a early 2000s NBC show.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad.
No,
there's still some, good stuff.
The story was still really good. The story was still really good, and it was still tremendously acted. You know, I just feel like there wasn't a lot of big budget action stuff that we kind of come to expect, I guess, or action, sequences. And, I was a little underwhelmed with it happened. The climax for it seemed to have happened earlier in the series than I expected, and then it was, and then it kind of limped along towards the end, and I was like, oh, well, no, not quite sure,
but I wasn't necessarily on the edge of my seat in that finale.
I haven't watched The Boys, so I don't know.
You haven't watched any of The Boys?
I haven't watched any of it.
Season 3 was like, it is getting to a point where it's like, I don't know if we need you to go that far.
Yeah.
And that, like, I have a very high tolerance for stuff. And even I'm like getting season 3 was a little much. So Walking Dead, or are you eating well with Walking Dead?
No. No. We were talking about that.
Are you eating well with Gordon Ramsay?
I will tell you, and in fact, I'll put a picture of it up on the show, in the show. One of the best steaks I've ever had in my life, I had at Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen in Vegas.
Oh,
it was
nice.
Terrific.
Nice.
Funny story is we go there for a company deal. We're told about an hour or so before that the company's not paying for it, that we're all on our own. We get there. They tell us they don't split checks. So we're basically this group of like 15 people. And so they're like, okay, well, everybody's just going to we'll just split the check 15 ways. So I don't drink alcohol. So I already know that I'm,
paying more. Yeah.
Going to be paying more than I'm probably going to be. So I ordered a nice steak. I thought it was about a $40 or $50 ribeye, The guy that's sitting next to me orders 2 freaking tomahawk ribeyes that are $100 a pop.
No way.
One for him and one for his, and then proceeds to buy like 4 drinks, 4 or 5, whiskeys, and all this stuff, so he buys
a discount on this.
He buys 2. Yeah, exactly. He buys 2 of these tomahawks that are $100 a pop, $120 a pop. He's taken one back to his roommate that couldn't make it to the dinner. It was supposed to be there, but couldn't be. And I'm like, you're such a jerk.
Couldn't make it back because he was on the toilet?
No, he had something else going. He had a work thing that he couldn't just get out of. But it was But Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen, if you have a chance, I
used to love that show back in the day,
go eat there at the restaurant in Vegas. It's really, really phenomenal. The cooking staff.
Is the show recorded there?
It is not, but whoever won Hell's Kitchen got a job there. The next, whoever won the show was then moved into the into the kitchen, and so the girl who had won the season before was actually cooking there, and we got our picture taken with her and everything. She was dynamite. She was terrific. The management staff was terrific. It was a really wonderful experience, and it was really cool because it is set up red and blue, and you can see the kitchen is in a U shape, so you can watch them do everything, and it was really neat if you're into kitchen stuff. So I would say with Gordon Ramsay, I don't watch the other stuff that the guy has, but I do eat well with Gordon Ramsay. I will tell you that much. So
literally,
yeah. So I get what Dunsel's getting at here. I really do. I think franchise wise, I'm gonna say we're eating fast food lately with a lot of the franchises. There's some good nuggets that are in there. I still love Moon Knight. I still think Moon Knight was terrific. I loved that show from Marvel. So as far as is that's outside of Phase 4, I guess, because it's kind of its own standalone property.
I don't know.
There were some other things that, Marvel wise, I didn't think they did well. Star Wars, like I said, Mandalorian and Andor, terrific. Obi-Wan.
I mean, top tier. Like,
yeah.
When it's good, it's up there with the best.
DC. I don't think
we will hopefully be eating good someday.
Yeah, I don't think DC. I don't think there's any question that we haven't. The boys, I don't know. Jack Ryan. We already kind of talked about Walking Dead. Walking Dead is just it's limped along. It probably should have ended 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and they just have kind of kept going. It really just should have walked away. No pun intended. But I feel like there's some other stuff that's original content maybe that has come out that is really, really terrific stuff. Only Murders in the Building. I absolutely love that show with Steve Martin and Martin Short. It's a terrific. Selena Gomez is amazing in that. She is so good. There's the Game of Thrones series, House of the Dragon was terrific. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff out there that we've been watching that I think maybe isn't tied to a franchise that is filling that void. There's some really great TV out there. There's some really great movies and stuff that have come out. We got Top Gun Maverick. Excuse me. There's some good stuff. There's some really good stuff that's been out there. I think the franchise stuff maybe is a little bit long in the tooth, if you will. And they need to refocus. And I think Marvel's already kind of figured that out. They've at least assessed properly that Phase 4 didn't go well for them, and they need to readjust. I think the blueprint for Star Wars is out there. I think Mandalorian is good. I think we saw Andor is really great, if not terrific. So there's stuff out there that we can still do in the Star Wars universe that I think fans, still love that universe. They still love all that stuff. DC, we'll see. I don't know. And then, like I said, the Terminal Lists, like that, we talked about that earlier. That's a franchise that's just getting off its feet. That was absolutely terrific. So, and I haven't watched it, but the Lord of the Rings, stuff was supposed to be pretty, decent, I guess, or whatever. But we will probably be hitting that in the future and digging further into that universe. So, I would say more than not, we are eating well. I really would. I think this may be kind of riding the coattails of success. But I also think we have to look through a clear look through COVID really jacked things up for Hollywood, and they had to be more creative and do different things that maybe they had wanted to do or expected. So, kind of going forward, I think we're going to see.
It's almost like they learned from the writer's strike.
Yeah. So I think going forward, we'll see we'll see who sinks and who swims. That's really, I think, that this next year or two is really going to be a big inflection point, I think, for a lot of these big houses, production houses. Kathleen Kennedy's on the bubble, I think, at Star Wars. Yeah. She's got to figure out what she's doing. James Gunn and them, they've got some time, but hopefully they'll get DC squared away. I still believe in Kevin Feige. I think the Marvel stuff is going to do well. But it was always going to be hard. I think that's the thing that Marvel, it was always going to be, I wouldn't say a letdown, but it was always going to be hard for them to come back from Endgame.
Totally
to continue to
like success.
Yeah. And like the characters that you cared about, like you've spent the last 10 years with these characters, and now some of them are gone, some of them are dead, some
big
of them
ones. Yeah.
So big characters. And so I don't know. It just it just was hard.
Think about a franchise quarterback like John Elway. How long did it take to replace him?
Right.
All the way till Peyton Manning, 15 years, you know? Watch the Patriots go on a 30-year Super Bowl drop because they haven't been able to find Tom Brady, So when you lose your franchise players, you're going to have some downtrodden, times. And I trust Feige. It'll be interesting to see how patient people are with DC. That's one thing that we'll still see, because you got to start making this stuff, which means we're years off. We are like 2024 is when we'll get
2025.
Start getting DC stuff. It's like we're a long way off from getting some DC content, so we'll see.
Fortunately, they've got stuff that will get them through. Matt Reeves will get them through.
He's got the Penguin series still. That's still a go. So that was good to hear. That's still
Matt Reeves will get them through, and I think.
But we won't get Matt Reeves till 2024, though.
Right.
That's still a long way off.
Yeah.
Although this year we have the 4. I guess there's we won't have a DC drought because we have the 4 properties this year. It was just Shazam, Flash, Aquaman. Or is there only 3?
I think there's only 3. Because the Wonder Woman, I think, was supposed to, but that one got axed.
You're right. Yep. So it's still only 3. Anyway.
Yeah.
Those 3 this year. Next year will be the Batman 2.
And the Penguin stuff will be out.
The Penguin series, I was like, there's nothing else out there. So that'll help fill the void. Now, 2025 is going to be an insane year. We'll cover that in the Presidents Down the Road because it's already shaping up to be the biggest year of Hollywood ever.
Yeah.
With some of the properties that are coming out that year. So,
and
let's
Dunzel,
wrap it up.
If you're not watching The Last of Us, you need to be watching that.
We haven't.
It's great stuff.
Haven't heard if he is or not. Where you at, Dunzel? That'll wrap up the rundown. We're gonna jump on the recap. I can't wait to talk about this most recent episode of The Last of Us on the Nerd Rundown recaps. Like and subscribe to hear all of it. Looking forward to that. Eric, great rundown. Love your insight on all this. Great analogies in there. Really looking forward to going back to this episode and listening to it and processing some of that stuff that you said. So that being said, we'll see you all next week on the Nerd Rundown.
See ya.